Hello, this is Patricia Brooks, and this is Courage Concept number 22. Choose not to be harmed, and you won't feel harmed. Don't feel harmed, and you haven't been. This is a quote from Marcus Aurelius, and recently I had to put this concept into place. I was in Greece having dinner at a restaurant, and I was seated next to a woman who was seated after me and who ordered her meal after me, but whose meal arrived before mine did. And immediately I started to feel anger rise inside of me. And I told myself, oh my gosh, you're being treated differently because you're a Black woman. And I reminded myself of this quote, and that allowed me to take a deep breath. And then when I called the waitress over and asked where my salad was, I was able to come from a place of neutrality, not anger. And she says, oh, just a minute, I'm going to go check on that and see where it is. And she went, and a few minutes later, she came back. And she had my salad, but she also had the pizza I had ordered. And I was a little bit annoyed because I wanted to be able to eat my pizza while it was hot. And it came out, it was piping hot. And so what I did was I took another deep breath and I exhaled. And then I decided to eat my pizza first. And I did, and I enjoyed it. It was very good. Then I turned to my salad and I started eating it, but there was too much dressing on it. And so I tried to blot the excess dressing off with my napkin, but there was so much dressing on it that I couldn't do it. And so once again, I called the waitress over to my table and I explained that there was too much dressing on it and I'd like to have another salad with the dressing on the side. And she said, oh, sure, no problem. And she went away and she came back with a fresh salad and the dressing on the side. And I proceeded to eat that, and it was a good salad. So when the meal was over, I spoke to the waitress and I told her that the pizza was delicious, and it was. And she smiled and she says, thank you. I'm so glad you enjoyed it. And then she said sincerely, I'm really sorry that your salad and your pizza came out at the same time. I really should have said something to the chef. And that made me smile. That made me feel better. That helped me to see how powerful this concept is. Choose not to be harmed and you won't feel harmed. Don't feel harmed and you haven't been. Now, this doesn't mean that you accept poor treatment or poor service. It just means that when you request what you want, you're coming from a higher energy. And that request will be met most likely with a higher energy as well, one that is not so resistant. This concept goes to the catalyst for cultivating courage, that is shifting your perspective, because when you choose not to be harmed and you see other reasons that for this treatment, then you can see things differently. And when you see things differently and you feel better, then you can act in a different way, a way that will get you what you want in a less resistant fashion. Now, in order to help you use this concept in your everyday life, I want to ask you a few questions. And the first one is, I'd like for you to think back to a situation where you felt like the service was poor or you were being treated differently, and it made you angry. I'd like for you to write that situation down. Question number 2 is, what were you telling yourself was the reason for the poor service or the mistreatment? Question number 3 is, I'd like for you to write down another reason or other reasons for the poor service or the mistreatment that you experienced. And I'd like for you to write all the ones that come to mind to you. Write them all down. And I think you'll be surprised at what you come up with. Question number 4 is really just a reminder that the next time you start to feel angry about a situation, I'd like for you to remember this exercise and ask yourself, what story am I telling myself about this situation? And what other reasons could there be for this situation, this service, this treatment? And when you do, that's not to say that you don't address it, but that when you do and you apply this concept, choose not to be harmed and you won't feel harmed, don't feel harmed, and you haven't been, then you will be able to come from a higher energy and be met with less resistance and get what you want. That is courage concept number 22. Choose not to be harmed and you won't feel harmed. Don't feel harmed and you haven't been. That's all I have for you today. I will see you again next time. Bye for now.